Hi guys, today's lesson is 3.7, which is percent of change. And it's just two simple target points. It's going to be an easy lesson. The first target point is going to be percent of change, which is just simply the change of the two numbers over the original number. So it's a ratio or a fraction. You put the change or the difference of the two numbers over the original number. Okay? So I have a couple examples here. Example number one, Kobe's allowance. Kobe got $9 per week, and then he scored a few touchdowns, so he went to $15 per week. We want to find the change, the percent of change, and we want to tell whether it's an increase or decrease. Okay, the obvious answer to this is from $9 to $15, it went up, so it's going to be an increase. But to find the percent of change, you go 15 minus the 9, you find the difference, over the original number it went from, which is 9. When we simplify that, we get 6 over 9, and we can go to 2/3 if we want. But now we need to change that to a percentage. So when you do that on a calculator, you're going to get 0.6666 and repeating. It'll just keep repeating. Okay. When we go to a percent, we go over two decimal places. So we go 1, 2, and we put the decimal there. So we're going to get 66.66%. But we want to round to the nearest tenth of a percent. So we look at this number, and since it's greater than 5, we're going to round up. So our answer is going to be 66.7%, and we said it was an increase because it went up from 9 to 15. Okay. In our second example over here, Shaylin, at the start of the season, ran 3 miles in 30 minutes. At the end of the season, she ran it in 24 minutes. We want to find the percent of change. So again, we're going to find the change and put it over the original. So the change is simply 30 minus 24. Again, it doesn't matter which one you subtract, whether it's 15 minus 9 or 9 minus 15. I usually just go with the bigger number minus the smaller number. Okay, so 30 minus 24 over, and the original was 30. Okay, be careful. That's a common mistake people make. They put it over the 24 or the 15. Make sure you put it over the original number, which is the 30 or the 9. In this case, that's going to equal to 6 over 30, or 1 over 5. When you do that on a calculator, it comes out to 0.2. When you go to a decimal, from a decimal to a percent, we need to add some zeros here, okay? And we're going to go over 2 and put it there. And our answer is going to be 20.0 because we want the nearest tenth, so put the 0.0%. And it went from 30 down to 24, so it's going to be a decrease. So in this case, percent of change is change over the original, change it to a decimal, round it to, put it to a percent, and then round that percent to the nearest tenth of a percent. And then you just look, if it went up, it's an increase. If it went down from 30 to 24, it's a decrease. And that's how you do change of percent. Okay? The second learning point, or the learning target or target point, is going to be the greatest possible error. Okay, the greatest possible error is, I'm sorry if it's hard to see, but it's half of the smallest unit, not the number. Okay, it's half of the smallest unit. So in this example, number one, I have 3 kilograms. The unit is the ones unit. So half of 1 unit is going to be 0.5. And we go to kilograms. Again, we're not using the 3, we're using the place, the digit, the unit place. And it's the 1, so you change a 3 to a 1, and half of that is 0.5, and you use the same units. In this case, with the tenths of a unit, if I change that to a 1 and think of it as 1/10, half of that would be 0.05 meters. Okay. In this case, I'm looking at the 6. That's the 100th unit. If I think of that as a 1, so again, if I put a 1 here and think of it as a 1, the half of that would be 0.005 inches. Okay, this is for the greatest possible error. Okay, one more on this one. If I look at this, I have the 8 way over here on the third 3 decimals down. So if you notice, there is a pattern. If it's the third decimal, I put 3 zeros, and then I put the 5 with the gram. In this one, I was a second decimal, so I put 2 zeros and then a 5. In this one, it was 1 decimal, so I put 1 0 and a 5. And in this one, there was no decimal, so I just put 0.5. So there's kind of a shortcut to tell this. But again, the key point is don't think of the 8. You want to think of the unit that it's at. And think of it as having a 1 there and then half of that. Okay? In this case, going back, 6,752 miles. Okay. If I want to find the greatest possible error, it's just 0.5 of a mile. Again, we're just looking at this unit, and it's the ones unit. There's no decimal. So half of 1 would be 0.5 of a mile. Okay, here's the tricky one. What if I have 2,600 miles? Okay, so from here to Samoa is about 2,600 miles. Somebody rounds, if they rounded it off to 2,600 miles. And we want to find the greatest possible error. The reason we use the greatest possible error is we want to see give or take a little bit if you're estimating. So if I if I guesstimated from here to Tonga, or I'm sorry, Samoa was 2,600 miles, I don't want my possible error to be give or take 0.05 of a mile. That's impossible. It's when you're talking hundreds of miles to go within 1/100 or half of a hundredth of a mile. That's pretty impossible. Okay, so in this case, it's kind of tricky again. You want to look over here. If there's a 0 here and a 0 here, I need to look for an actual number. So in this case, I look at the 6. The 6 is actually in the hundreds place. Okay, so half of, if I think of putting a 1 there, and again, I forgot the 1 there, half of 100 would be 50 miles. So if I was guesstimating the distance from here to Samoa as 2,600 miles, I could say it's 2,600 miles, give or take 50 miles. So between 2,550 and 2,650 miles. So you can notice as you get more precise with your measurement, your error is going to be much smaller. As your measurement is pretty big on your guesstimate, your error is going to be a little bit bigger. And that just makes sense because you cannot get too close if you're getting such a big distance. Okay, so again, the 2 learning points for today was percent of change, which is change over original, and the greatest possible error, which is half of the smallest unit, not the number. Okay, so I have 2 problems here for you. This is going to be your homework check, and I want you to do this on a separate piece of paper or the back of your agenda, and this will be what I check at the beginning of class. You need to come into class with this. Don't try to do it in class. This is to show me that you watched this video and that you did this at home. So this is your homework check. If you don't have this, you will be minusing 5 points for not doing the homework. If you have it, you get the homework check. Okay, so homework check number 1. We're going to find the percent of change. At the beginning of the football season, Spunky ran 40 yards in 6 seconds, which is not bad for a lineman. At the end of the season, he got a lot faster, and he went down to 5 seconds. I want you to find a percent of change and round it to the nearest tenth of a percent, just like we did over here. Okay? Find a percent of change, round it to the nearest tenth of a percent, and tell me if it's an increase or decrease like we did over here. Okay? Homework check number 2 is pretty simple. I want you to find the greatest possible error, which is the GPE, of 14.29 inches. Again, I want you to have both of these done before you come into class, and I will be checking it. That'll be your homework check. 2 simple problems, and then we'll do 3.7 in class. If you want to get a head start, you can look at the agenda. The problems are on the agenda, excuse me. But we will be just working on it in class, and if you finish it in class, there'll be no homework. So we're trying to just do all the problems in class together, help each other out, work it, and you watch this lesson online. Okay? Hope this helped. If you need more assistance, you can always check your video tutor from your math book, or you can YouTube some videos at home and see if you can get help from there. Also on your laptop, there is the X Power in the applications. If you go to your hard drive and look under applications, at the very bottom is the X Power program. You can check over there for these lessons and see if it's on there. They have cartoons teaching you. Okay, this is 9 minutes and 45 seconds. So I hope this helps. Better than half an hour of homework. Take care. Bye.